The invisible treasure Carl Jung said is being stolen from you. Have you ever felt constantly tired, distracted, or as if someone is draining your energy without you even noticing? What if I told you there is an invisible treasure within you, what Carl Jung called psychic energy, and that many people and situations are trying to steal it without your awareness? Before we go any further, subscribe to the channel and hit the like button, because here you'll discover how to protect this treasure and use this energy to transform your life. What is psychic energy according to Carl Jung? Psychic energy, according to Carl Jung, is much more than a simple mental or physical force. It is an invisible potential that drives our entire inner life, a force that makes us think, feel, and act, yet one we rarely perceive in its entirety. This energy is not limited to conscious will. It flows through desires, fears, intuitions, and even creativity itself. Jung viewed the psyche as a dynamic system, and the energy moving within it is responsible for turning inner experiences into concrete actions, often without us realizing it. It is like a silent yet powerful current that shapes our decisions, influences our emotional responses, and determines the intensity with which we experience every moment. Each person possesses a limited amount of psychic energy, which can be directed toward productive activities or wasted on internal conflicts, unnecessary tension, or efforts to conform to external expectations. For example, when someone constantly tries to please others or suppresses their true feelings, a significant portion of that energy is drained without producing real benefits. That is why we often feel emotionally exhausted even when we haven't done anything physically demanding. Jung also linked this energy to creativity and self-development. The more a person connects with their inner world, the more they can access this invisible resource and transform it into solutions, ideas, and personal growth. Another central point in Jung's thinking is that psychic energy is not homogeneous. It manifests in different forms: motivation, curiosity, passion, intuition, deep interest in an activity, or the pursuit of knowledge. Each manifestation reflects the balance or imbalance of the psyche at that moment. For this reason, Jung believed that understanding this energy was essential for living a full and authentic life. Ignoring or wasting this force means losing opportunities for growth and well-being, while learning to recognize it allows us to direct it consciously, expanding our abilities, boosting creativity, and strengthening self-esteem. Jung urges us to reflect on how rarely we notice this energy in action. How often do we feel something is draining us, that our motivation suddenly disappears, or that we are emotionally depleted for no apparent reason? To him, this means psychic energy is being diverted, blocked, or misused. Observing these moments, identifying patterns, and understanding where this invisible force originates is a crucial step toward regaining control over our lives. Therefore, psychic energy is not just an abstract or philosophical concept, it is a real tool for self-knowledge and transformation. Jung challenges us to examine our choices, our priorities, and our inner world to see where this energy flows and where it is lost. He encourages us to take a conscious inventory of our vital force, to question habits, relationships, and beliefs that drain this energy without giving anything back, and to find ways to cultivate, expand, and use it strategically, ensuring that every thought, feeling, and action is fueled by an abundant, powerful internal resource directed toward our own growth. Now I want to ask you, throughout your day, have you noticed moments when your energy seems to vanish without explanation? What do you think might be draining your psychic strength? Write it in the comments and share your experience, because understanding this is the first step toward regaining control over your own life. How psychic energy is stolen. Carl Jung teaches us that our psychic energy is not only an internal resource but also something that can be influenced, diverted, and even stolen by external and internal factors, often without us realizing it. He observed that certain people have a subtle ability to absorb the life force of others through emotional manipulation, abusive behavior, or dominating attitudes. This kind of drainage does not happen openly. On the contrary, it is silent, almost imperceptible, yet it leaves deep marks on the mind and body. Every interaction that generates tension, fear, or guilt reduces the energy available for our creativity, motivation, and clarity of thought. Beyond people, environments also play a fundamental role in this process. Spaces filled with negativity, whether at home, at work, or in social settings, can act as filters that drain our vitality. Constant noise, unnecessary pressure, ongoing criticism, and disproportionate demands create continuous wear and tear. Jung believed that the human psyche reacts to these conditions much like the physical body does to stress. Energy is consumed just to handle harmful stimuli, leaving less available to nurture dreams, passions, and self-growth. Another often overlooked aspect is internal behavior. Obsessive thoughts, unresolved guilt, fear of judgment, and self-sabotage work as escape valves for psychic energy. Every internal doubt, exaggerated worry, and resistance to personal growth drains life force, even when no one else is around. Jung reminds us that often the enemy is not outside but within us, and recognizing these internal sources is essential for regaining lost energy. The theft of energy also manifests subtly through social relationships. People who constantly demand attention, approval, or validation can consume the energy of those around them. This influence is not always conscious on the part of the one draining it, but its effect is real. Emotional fatigue, loss of focus, and the constant feeling of being weighed down or overwhelmed. Jung warns us that becoming aware of this dynamic is the first step toward restoring balance. More profoundly, he challenges us to observe the invisible patterns that reveal where energy is being stolen. Questions such as, which situations leave me drained? Or, who makes me feel powerless? Are practical tools for identifying leaks and regaining autonomy over our vitality. Jung believed that by recognizing these sources, we can act strategically, avoiding unnecessary energy loss and redirecting it toward activities that foster personal growth, well-being, and creativity. Now think, at what moments in your day do you notice your energy disappearing without explanation? Which people, environments, or internal behaviors might be draining your strength without you realizing it? Share in the comments, because identifying these patterns is the first step toward reclaiming control over your psychic energy. The relationship between the persona and the theft of energy. Carl Jung taught us that we all carry a persona, a mask we wear to present ourselves to the world, shaped by social, familial, and cultural expectations. This outward face often does not reflect our true essence, and the constant effort to maintain it requires a considerable expenditure of psychic energy. Every forced smile, every word that does not express truth, every behavior adopted merely to be accepted or admired consumes inner strength that could otherwise be directed toward personal development, creativity, or deep reflection. Maintaining the persona is like carrying an invisible weight that distances us from who we truly are, draining our vitality without our awareness. The persona is not, in itself, something negative. Jung acknowledged its adaptive function, helping us navigate society and interact harmoniously. The problem arises when we spend most of our time acting through it, suppressing genuine feelings, ignoring internal needs, and sacrificing authenticity. Every act of performance, every behavior we engage in solely to meet external expectations represents a leak of psychic energy into a task that yields no real return. It is a silent drain that leaves us emotionally depleted, even when it seems we are playing our role perfectly. Furthermore, maintaining the persona creates a constant internal conflict. Our psyche senses the gap between the mask and our essence, and managing that tension requires energy. Jung explained that this internal struggle consumes vital force that could be applied to self-knowledge, creativity, or meaningful achievements. The longer and more complex the mask, the greater the effort required to sustain it, and the deeper the feeling of exhaustion. Another important point is that when we live excessively through the persona, we become dependent on external validation to feel complete. This means our psychic energy is often conditioned by others' approval, leaving us vulnerable to manipulation, frustration, and disappointment. Jung warned that this dependence not only drains our strength but also blocks access to our true creativity, intuition, and potential for personal transformation. Self-knowledge emerges as an essential tool to balance this dynamic. By recognizing when we are using too much energy to sustain the persona, we can make conscious choices, deciding when adaptation is necessary and when authenticity must be expressed. This awareness allows us to recover lost energy and redirect it toward activities, relationships, and decisions that strengthen our essence. Now reflect. Have you ever caught yourself repeating behaviors simply to please or be accepted, even knowing they don't reflect who you truly are? How much of that energy could be used to build something real in your life? Share your thoughts in the comments, because recognizing this is the first step toward regaining control of your own psychic strength. Recognizing the shadow to reclaim energy. Carl Jung taught us that the human psyche is not composed only of what we show to the world or consciously acknowledge. There is also a hidden side, the shadow, which contains desires, emotions, and aspects of our personality that we deny or reject. Ignoring this shadow does not make it disappear. On the contrary, it remains active in the unconscious, creating silent internal conflicts that drain psychic energy. Every attempt to suppress anger, fear, envy, or frustration requires mental and emotional effort, consuming vital force that could be directed toward creativity, personal fulfillment, and self-development. The shadow manifests subtly, often through repetitive patterns, complicated relationships, or self-sabotage. When we avoid looking at it, our energy becomes trapped in internal tension, preventing us from acting freely and authentically. Jung stated that true psychic strength emerges when we acknowledge these hidden aspects, accepting them as part of our humanity. Facing the shadow does not mean acting impulsively or destructively, but rather understanding and integrating these parts into our consciousness, allowing the energy once trapped to be released and used constructively. The process of integrating the shadow requires courage and honesty with oneself. It involves observing recurring behavior patterns, reflecting on unexpected emotional reactions, and admitting feelings we tend to hide. By doing so, we transform internal conflicts into learning, reinterpret past experiences, and reclaim psychic energy that had been trapped in resistance and denial. Jung considered this practice essential for personal growth and authenticity, as only by accepting our shadow can we act in a balanced and conscious way in the world. Furthermore, the shadow also contains creative potential and dormant talents. By ignoring it, we miss the opportunity to access abilities that could enrich our personal and professional lives. Jung suggested that the more connected we are with these hidden aspects, the stronger we become, as the energy previously consumed by internal conflicts now fuels our goals, decisions, and relationships in a healthy way. Recognizing and integrating the shadow transforms the psyche, allowing energy to flow freely between consciousness and the unconscious. This harmony enhances vitality, strengthens self-esteem, and promotes greater emotional clarity. Jung challenges us to look inward, confront what we avoid, and transform our energy into a force for personal transformation. Now think, what aspect of your shadow do you find difficult to accept? What do you avoid recognizing about yourself that may be draining your energy? Share in the comments, because accepting and integrating these parts is essential for reclaiming inner strength and living more authentically. Creative energy and purpose. Carl Jung shows us that psychic energy is not just a resource to keep the mind and emotions active, it is also a powerful engine for creativity and personal development. When this energy is directed toward activities that hold deep meaning, it becomes a productive force, a source of innovation, and a driver of clear action. On the other hand, when we scatter this energy on purposeless tasks or empty worries, its potential is wasted, leaving us tired and dissatisfied, even when we seem to be busy. Jung believed that every individual possesses unique talents, passions, and abilities, and the real challenge is to identify how to channel psychic energy into what truly creates impact and personal fulfillment. Purpose functions as a catalyst, turning raw energy into creation and progress. When connected to something that matters, the mind becomes more focused, decisions more intentional, and actions more intense. Jung compared this phenomenon to a river that, once it finds its natural path, flows without obstacles. When energy aligns with genuine goals, there is no waste. Every thought, effort, and emotion contributes to building something greater, whether in the personal, artistic, professional, or spiritual sphere. Jung also warned that a lack of purpose leads to frustration and a sense of emptiness. Many people spend their energy trying to meet external expectations, unaware that they are moving away from their true interests. This misalignment creates emotional strain and blocks creativity, as the psyche must deal with the inner tension that arises when life is forced to follow patterns that do not reflect one's essence. Recognizing and following purpose, therefore, is not a luxury but a necessity to preserve psychic energy and transform potential into real achievement. Creative energy is, in essence, the manifestation of vitality when it is connected to something meaningful. Jung emphasized that hidden talents and innovative ideas often emerge when the psyche finds a focus that sparks genuine interest. The more aware we become of what truly drives us, the better we can direct our energy efficiently, avoiding waste and multiplying results. This process requires reflection, self-observation, and courage to abandon activities that consume strength without return. When psychic energy is aligned with purpose, a person not only increases productivity but also experiences satisfaction, joy, and a sense of personal power. Jung reminds us that living without purpose is like wasting an infinite source of energy. Living with purpose means turning every moment into an opportunity for creation, learning, and fulfillment. Now reflect. Do you feel you are using your energy on what truly matters, or is part of it being lost in activities that bring no meaning? Share your thoughts in the comments, because recognizing what fuels your inner strength is the first step toward directing it consciously and transformatively. Techniques to protect your psychic energy. Carl Jung taught us that psychic energy is a precious resource, but it is vulnerable to both external and internal influences. Protecting this force requires conscious strategies, because without proper care, it can be consumed by environments, people, or thoughts that drain our vitality. The first step is to identify sources of exhaustion and establish clear boundaries. Avoiding situations, places, or relationships that constantly deplete our energy is not selfishness. It is a necessity for preserving mental and emotional balance. Jung emphasized that mindful awareness of how we spend our psychic energy is essential to living authentically and creatively. Another key technique is introspection. Setting aside moments for silence, reflection, or contemplation allows the mind to reorganize, emotions to be processed, and energy trapped in internal tensions to be released. This practice strengthens awareness of the patterns that drain our vitality and helps restore emotional clarity and focus. Regular meditation or mindful solitude creates a mental state where psychic energy is renewed, preventing small conflicts or worries from building into cumulative exhaustion. In addition, Jung advocated for active methods of connecting with the deeper self, such as reflective writing, journaling, or visualization exercises. Recording feelings and ideas helps identify repetitive behaviors that drain energy and explore creative solutions to redirect it. Conscious reflection on emotions and experiences makes it easier to recognize unmet internal needs, preventing inner conflicts from wasting vital force. Jung also highlighted the importance of balancing social interaction with moments of solitude. Meaningful and productive relationships strengthen energy, while toxic or overly demanding ones consume it. Learning to say no, setting boundaries, and choosing who to share your attention with is an essential skill for protecting psychic energy. This way, each interaction becomes conscious and energizing rather than exhausting and draining. Another important point is cultivating activities that bring pleasure, learning, or a sense of fulfillment. Hobbies, artistic practices, physical exercise, and moments of contemplation help restore energy, creating a healthy balance between expenditure and renewal. Jung emphasized that the psyche needs positive and meaningful stimuli to keep vital energy active and available. Now reflect. Which of these techniques do you already use, or would like to start using, to protect your psychic energy? Share your thoughts in the comments, because recognizing and adopting conscious strategies is essential to maintain your vitality and live with greater clarity and creativity. Recognizing external manipulations and influences. Carl Jung warns us that our psychic energy does not circulate only within ourselves. It is constantly influenced by external factors. People, situations, and even cultural patterns can exert subtle manipulations that drain our vital force without our awareness. When we ignore these impacts, energy disperses, leaving us emotionally vulnerable and mentally overwhelmed. Jung summed up this principle succinctly: What we deny controls us. In other words, by failing to recognize how we are affected, we unknowingly give our psychic energy to outside influences, becoming captives of thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that do not belong to us. External manipulations can take many forms. Critical comments, hidden demands, emotional blackmail, or even implicit social expectations act as silent drains. The more unconscious we are, the more energy is wasted trying to comply with or resist these influences. Jung observed that the psyche reacts automatically to these pressures, mobilizing internal resources to manage conflict, tension, and stress, which reduces the energy available for personal goals, creativity, and self-development. Additionally, the influence of groups, leaders, or authority figures can redirect our energy without our awareness. When we passively accept imposed patterns of thought or behavior, part of our psychic force is diverted to support structures that do not reflect our values or interests. This ongoing diversion can create frustration, loss of motivation, and a sense of emptiness, as meaningful energy is consumed in causes that are not truly ours. Recognizing these manipulations requires attention and self-knowledge. Jung emphasized the importance of observing intense emotions, automatic reactions, and repetitive patterns of exhaustion, as they indicate that our energy is being used to sustain external situations instead of nurturing our internal growth. Identifying these patterns allows us to regain control, establish boundaries, and consciously redirect energy, preserving inner strength and mental clarity. Beyond observation, Jung suggested cultivating psychic autonomy. This involves constantly questioning external motivations, evaluating whether a given action truly serves our goals, and learning to say no when necessary. This practice strengthens our ability to resist external influences and transforms energy that was previously lost into fuel for self-development, creativity, and emotional well-being. Now reflect. Have you ever noticed when someone was trying to manipulate your emotions? How did you respond, and what did you learn about yourself in the process? Write in the comments, because recognizing and understanding these influences is essential for protecting your psychic strength and living with greater autonomy and clarity. The power of psychic autonomy. Carl Jung teaches us that the true treasure in life is not merely possessing psychic energy, but having the ability to manage and direct it consciously. Psychic autonomy is the ability to recognize where your energy is being spent, identify external or internal influences that drain it, and deliberately decide how to use it to achieve personal goals, develop skills, and foster emotional balance. Those who reach this level of awareness become resilient in the face of adversity, creative in their projects, and magnetic in their relationships, because their inner strength does not depend on the approval or energy of others. This autonomy allows us to differentiate what deserves attention and energy from what is superfluous or harmful. Jung emphasized that people who do not cultivate this awareness often live scattered, reacting to external stimuli and allowing outside factors to dictate their emotional and mental state. Lack of control over one's own energy generates frustration, anxiety, and a sense of powerlessness, as a significant portion of vital force is wasted on situations or relationships that do not contribute to growth or well-being. By developing psychic autonomy, a person learns to protect their internal resources, directing them toward tasks, relationships, and activities that amplify their potential. Every decision, action, and thought becomes guided by intention rather than impulse or external influence. Jung believed that this process strengthens the psyche, enhances creativity, and provides clarity of purpose, transforming life into a space of conscious and meaningful achievement. Another crucial aspect is that psychic autonomy promotes inner freedom. When someone masters their energy, they are no longer vulnerable to manipulation, criticism, or external expectations. This freedom is the foundation for living authentically, making decisions aligned with personal values, and using psychic energy as fuel for self-transformation rather than allowing it to be consumed by external or internal forces that do not serve their well-being. Cultivating this autonomy requires consistent practice. Observing patterns of energy expenditure, recognizing negative influences, prioritizing activities that nourish inner strength, and creating habits that maintain balance between external stimuli and internal resources. Jung invites us to take full responsibility for our energy, transforming it into a powerful ally for personal growth, creativity, and emotional resilience. Now reflect. How do you intend to use your psychic energy to transform your life starting today? Share your thoughts in the comments, because taking conscious control of your own strength is the path to living with authenticity, freedom, and fulfillment. Now that you understand the power of your psychic energy, share this video with someone who needs to discover this invisible treasure. Comment below with your experiences, because we want to read them and learn together. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content that will transform your mind and your life.